We didn't start with any theme music, though.
Oh, well, Bill said to start recording, so I just did what he told me. He's the boss.
Oh, really? Since when?
Yeah. I don't know.
Okay, that's enough. We're going to get sued.
Nah, it's my song. We won't get monetized.
Oh, okay. Good.
Or demonetized, whatever you want to call
There
it.
you go. Okay, so everybody, welcome to yet another episode of two old guys and a middle-aged guy talk about guitars and gear and stuff. And
Stuff.
Tim, you want to tell them what this thing is? I tried to do it last time, and you just do it way better than I do.
Nobody actually knows what this thing is. That's the beauty of it. Is it a podcast? I don't know. Is it a YouTube series? I don't know. Is it just getting bored and recording the stuff we talk about when we're not recording? Yeah, pretty much. But you know, if people like gear or they like listening to nonsense because they have nothing better to do with their time, like, it's pretty fun. So, you know, we'll probably talk about music at some point, but I like to derail everything and not talk about music for a while. So
there we go. So, okay. So Tim was late. Tell us what's going on.
Well, aren't we going to introduce our guest before I tell you why I'm late?
Oh, yeah, we should do that, huh? God, it's so professional.
Gosh.
We have another guest. We had a guest last time, and we have a guest this time. Whoa, we're like pro now.
I'm only seeing half of Riley's face, though.
Oh yeah, Riley, you're tilted up just a little bit.
Is that this is a crap light setup? But anyway,
there we go. So
it's not the light, it's just the camera.
Okay, yeah,
you're plenty bright enough.
Yeah, it's cutting off the top of your head, like right about
Yeah,
here.
the top of your
there
camera.
You go. There you go. Just lean back a little bit, and you got it. Back it up. Back it.
Yeah.
Again, professional. So joining us today is Riley Wilson, coming in from Frisco, Texas. And Riley was a big-time contributor to the original Gig magazine way back in the 80s. God, we are all so freaking old. Except
I'm not.
Him. Yeah.
I was looking to dig some of my old gigs out, but I couldn't find them in time.
I have all of them, and they're in the garage, though.
Yeah, that's where mine are in the garage.
I have mine here back on the shelf below my GIT stuff. So.
Oh yeah.
So there you go. So
the Bible.
Okay, so we'll get into Riley kind of telling us a little bit about what he does in a second. But first, let's start with Tim and explain why you're late.
Well, hey, I just wanted to say before I get to that, age is going to play into why I'm late. Riley, it's nice to meet you virtually. I know I've edited a bunch of your stuff in the Live to Play days, so.
So far, and so anyway, thanks for allowing me to be on here with you guys.
Yeah, but Riley didn't need that much editing.
No, nothing like Scott.
Not like me. But at least I admit it.
Or our last guest, who I love dearly. But, yeah, okay, so there we go.
Yeah, the last guess was it would come in and it would be like, it was freaking awesome. I loved it. And then it'd be like, Bill, how do I turn this into 4 or 5 paragraphs? So by the way, if you hear banging in the background, there's an electrician working on my house in the other room. So he's installing can lights and stuff, cool things like that. So I was originally planning on coming and talking about my favorite band who I should have given up on like 10 years ago or 20 years ago, Weezer, because they dropped more music this week. But instead, this is why I'm late tonight. So in my church, I work with like the teenagers. Like I teach like Sunday school, and I also do like weeknight activities. And so tonight they were doing a weeknight activity, and it was combined with like teenage boys and teenage girls, and they were having this photo scavenger hunt competition. And anyway, my son was there, and he was on one of those Razor scooters, right? And they were riding around the neighborhood in this video scavenger hunt. And so I decided that I'm the cool like leader or advisor or whatever you want to call me, because a lot of the kids play guitar, so I'm always like helping them buy effects and fixing their broken instruments and stuff. So, being the cool leader that I am, I decided to show them some tricks on the Razor scooter. And
how bad did you get hurt?
Well, Riley was going to say something. What was?
No, I just said this can't end well.
Yeah. So one of the things that's happened with the pandemic
The plague.
is
we
the
call
plague.
it the
Sorry,
plague,
the plague. With the plague is I've got to this point where even though I'm like the only one here who lives in an environment that's actually cold, where it snows, I pretty much wear board shorts and flip flops all day. I'll usually have like a polo shirt or a button up shirt on. So it's kind of like the mullet, except for, the party or the business in front, party in the back. But I'm like the business on top, party on the bottom kind of thing. So I'm doing these. I'm on this Raider scooter doing tricks because mentally I'm like 17 years old. Physically, I realize I'm in my 40s. And I was coming up to this curb, like this driveway, and I was going to jump onto the driveway. And I went to jump, and the wheel hit, and the thing started to flip. So, I go to bail on the scooter. This is why I mentioned my apparel, because my flip-flop catches on the edge of the driveway, and I go right down on the driveway and land on the driveway. And, of course, I do this in front of this whole group of teenage girls and the teenage boys that I was working with. And I have all sons, and now I wish I had daughters, because all the girls were like, "Oh, no, are you okay?" And all the boys were just laughing, hysterical. I thought it was the funniest thing they ever saw. Of course, trying to save my pride, I was like, "No, I'm good. It was just for humor purposes." As I get up,
and
I just want to say,
could see, and you're like,
so on the camera, you can probably see the gash in my elbow right there. I have
nice.
I have a similar one on my knee. I ripped a hole in my brand new board shorts where my key stabbed through the side. But the worst part of it is I'm pretty sure I bruised my ribs because it hurts to breathe so bad right now. So if I'm coughing the whole time, that's why. And so anyway.
How old are you, Tim?
41.
Yeah, so when you get to be 60, this will never happen. Do you know why? You know why? Your wife is going to run out of the house and yell at you for even attempting to touch that scooter until Tim put the scooter down and step away.
Well, actually, the comment is I'm sitting here coughing, going, "Oh, my ribs! I can't hardly talk." She's going, "You just ripped holes in your brand new shorts. You're as bad as the kids."
Awesome.
There you go.
That's as good.
Welcome to middle-aged guys talking about stuff.
Man.
That's too good. Okay, so I got
Dude,
one
it
thing before we
hurts.
start. I got one thing before we start. I had a new find. I had my a new score, an auction score.
Oh, nice. It's a Fender. I can tell from the headstock.
It is a
It's a little blurry, but
Yes, it is definitely a Fender. I don't even remember what it's called. What was that?
Is it a Sonoran, whatever they call that?
No, but it's all mahogany, solid top. And I've been playing a lot of bossa nova music, and my nylon string guitars. I have a thin line Yamaha, but that doesn't have any output. Yeah, there you go.
Did you say bossa nova?
Oh yeah, I've spent way too much time like delving into it. But
I feel set me up with that. That was a great pitch, by the way.
There you go, right? And I've got a nylon string that I had made when I was living in South America, but it's really hard to play. Action is ridiculously high, and so that's supposed to be a steel string guitar, but I bought ball end nylon strings, and the action's a little low and it's buzzing a little bit. I've adjusted a truss rod as much as I dare, and I'm thinking I'm gonna put a new nut on it, but I got it for $60
nice.
with a padded gig bag. Brand new in a
Which
box.
one? The old one that we used to do, or the new one that you just started doing?
The new one that I just started doing.
Nice.
That's terrific.
Nice.
Yeah. So anyway, there's my thing.
Well, do you want to hear my score for the week? That's not a
What's
score
your
and
score
costs
for
more
the
than
week?
$60. Really proud of this.
Board shorts.
What was that?
Board shorts.
No, I'm going to need
Score
more
for
of
the
those
week,
after
board
this.
shorts.
So, as Bill and Scott know, I've got a problem with buying guitar pedals that are way too expensive, sometimes to a stupid level. But this week, I was able to score a Paul Cochran hand-wired Tim overdrive pedal. He did a limited bunch of them. They were sold out within about an hour. I was able to score one, and it should be here this week.
And it's called Tim.
It's called a Tim, yes. The more popular version is the Timmy, which is like just the overdrive section without the boost. And he partnered with MXR, so I have the MXR version of that, which I think about 130. The hand-wired ones are about 200, but this is the big one that they only do. Yeah, but anyway, I'm really excited. I scored that this week, and it has my name on it, so it should be my signature pedal, even though it has nothing to do with me. But I'm getting it this week.
Okay.
Should be here on Saturday.
I have a guitar that should be my signature because it's called a Reverend Avenger, and I never play it. It's up there on the wall, and one of the slots that you can't see. Actually, you can see the white sides of it up there. So anyway,
we're doing scores of the week.
No.
Nitro expansion pack.
Nice.
Mesh, pad, and cymbal. Lists on Amazon, $119. Our favorite auction here in Vegas, $15.
Was that at Nellis?
Yes.
I paid a lot more than that for this one right here. And it's not even mesh.
There you go.
It is Elisa's though.
Nice.
Okay,
Yes.
so let's stop. Okay, okay, stop screwing around. So we're gonna do something odd here in just a couple of minutes, but we want to start by talking with Riley a little bit. Riley's a long-time working musician. He's one of those guys who has actually made a living for a long time, playing music, doing different stuff. Riley, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and where you come from and what you're doing?
Hey, you have to throw before we start, Riley. You have to put the question in there, Bill, which is to start out and introduce yourself. What is like the three albums that made you want to become a musician? So you have to start with the albums.
I didn't even warn him about this.
Yeah,
so,
you have to start with it.
Throw the fastball, buddy.
Okay, so name the top. Let's go with 3. We only give him 3. I think we only gave Ronnie 2, and he only used 1. And so let's go with the top 3 albums that kind of formed you as a musician. The ones that you were listening to when you decided that this is what you wanted to do.
Cool. Ones that you guys have probably never heard. One of them was a Billy Grammer gospel guitar record that my mom and dad had. That was probably the first one. The second one probably would be another oddball record you guys have probably never heard of. It was called Stars for a Summer Night. And it actually was half jazz and half classical music. But they had some stuff on there, for example, like... Stars for a Summer Night, and this was the version of Stairway to the Stars. So I tried to play this stuff. It took me many years to learn to play this, better than that, by the way, but play this chord melody style. And so those were probably 2. I can tell you the first rock and roll record I ever bought was Lies by the Knickerbockers. Right? And I got that when that was a single that came out when I was 10 and a half in April 1966.
Somebody who's older than me. I love having a guest who's older than me. Not by a lot, but by a couple years. So that's always cool.
But my background's pretty simple. My dad played. He played probably 20 chords, right? Country guitar singer, player. He actually played on the Louisiana Hayride a couple of times, and had a couple of discs that he recorded 78s way back in the early 50s, I guess. I was born in Shreveport. I probably started playing guitar when I was 10, Lexington, Kentucky. And like everybody, I like, the Beatles, and I like, Paul Revere and the Raiders, the Monkees, everybody who was happening at that time, Hendrix, Santana, all the obvious people. And I met a guitar player probably when I was a junior in high school named Bob Stallings from Raleigh, who was into Yes, and he could actually do
Big Yes fan.
right. He could actually play the Yes material and play it correctly. And so, result of that, I started listening to Yes, and there was like Barn with the Fusion stuff like that. My wife is still steamed at me because I'm not particularly a Queen fan. I told her by 1975 I wasn't listening to a whole lot of rock anyway. It would be fusion or jazz or whatever stuff like that. Anyway, long story short, started playing professionally at the end of my senior year of high school, which has been in fall of '72. So this fall it's 50 years. Oh man,
Wow.
Anyway. Went to college, ended up getting a radio, television, film degree at UNC Chapel Hill. Wasn't satisfied, came to Los Angeles in March of '83 and started at GIT the following month. Did their little 1 year of hell program, which was a wonderful program. I was involved with some great people, great musicians. Was in Los Angeles for about 4 years. Met a guy named Quint Randall. I knew his brother Mark from church, but met Quint the last week I happened to be in Hollywood. I'm leaving to go back to North Carolina from Granada Hills. And he said, I'm starting a new magazine called Gig Magazine. And I said, well, hey, I'd like to be part of it. And, I'd like to write something for it, never having written anything before in my life. So we moved back to North Carolina. And about 4 months later, Quint calls. He said, so what do you want to write about? I just joined a fairly successful band called The Shades, and so I said, well, why don't I write about booking prom gigs? And so that's when the writing career began. I did a 12-year column called The Gigmeister in vintage guitar from probably 93 to 2006, I guess, or something like that. I've been working all the time as a professional musician. Taught guitar. One of the main reasons that we moved back to North Carolina at the end of '86 is that I wanted just to teach guitar and play gigs, which we've done. I majored in radio, television, film, worked in radio 3 separate occasions, and got tired of talking in a closet for minimum wage. But I got into voiceovers, and so I also do voiceovers as well. And so between doing voiceovers, teaching, playing gigs, of course, writing for magazines when I've given the opportunity, we've been very, very fortunate. And so my wife and I are empty nesters now, having raised our 4 kids, and I was very fortunate and very blessed to be able to do what we got to do. So.
Very cool. First off, so everybody knows, if somebody calls me on my cell phone, the ringtone is the guitar intro to Siberian Cat Troop by Yes. Because nobody else has that. I always know it's it's like I know it's my phone. And we really need to have Quint on here as a guest at some point in time. I mean, all of us. I don't think Scott. Did you ever meet Quint?
I don't think so.
Probably
Oh,
not.
see, I was going to ask the same thing because I was going to say it sounds like Quint is to blame for all of this.
All of it.
He's a
Every bit.
What was that, Riley?
I said he's a major factor in it. I talked to him about 6 months ago when he and his wife were here in Texas. They got to go to a Rangers game or something like that. But yes, catch up with Quint. I know that the listeners and the viewers for this podcast would probably enjoy seeing his input on stuff as well.
All right.
Very cool.
So, we're gonna, and we're springing this on Riley. Riley's the only one of us probably who hasn't checked this. Tim, did you listen to any of this stuff?
So,
Apple
no.
Music?
No,
good.
I didn't.
Actually, oh, good, because that way we get honest reactions from you guys. So, I'm not really sure how to intro this. There's a scam, I believe. It's the only explanation for it. It only works on Apple Music. It's not on Spotify. But it appears, at least, that some enterprising individual is kind of hijacking the artist pages for legacy artists who haven't put out any new material in a very long time, and putting up stuff that either is just horrifyingly god-awfully bad in most cases, or it sounds like synthesizer farts that somebody with a DAW and a single keyboard did in their bedroom in an hour. and they're coming up in the new music algorithmically created playlists. And again, it's only in Apple Music. I've checked all this stuff in Spotify, and it doesn't happen. So, hey, Scott, do you have the ability to actually play something that we can hear other than through your phone?
I do. Through my phone.
Okay. So we're going to have to go through your phone, and then I will add some of this stuff in.
I mean,
Different. I will edit some of this stuff in so it doesn't sound like it sounds like on Scott's phone.
I did a little research, and this has been going on for a minute.
It has. I mean, I discovered
Like-
the first one a couple of years ago.
I looked as far as back as I could see. It's been going on since 2017.
Wow, that's earlier than I thought. So you found some of this from 2017?
Yeah, I went on to the Apple forums because people were complaining that their name was on someone else's music, and how do I change it?
And was
So-
there a response of how you do this?
You have to send an email to the original artist. They have to send them an email. It just seemed like it was a lot of lip service. Like, well, you gotta do this and you gotta do that, and
So
obviously it doesn't seem like it's working because here we are, 2022, and
And it's
it's
still
still happening.
So wait, let me make sure I understand this correctly. So people will jump in and record like a terrible synth version or something of somebody else's song, post it as material from that artist, and then do they get paid for it, or like what is
Well,
the?
you know,
No,
think about it like this.
Here's what it is. Is someone will like? I'll show you this one. Ambrosia. Here's the group
Oh,
Ambrosia.
boy, this is the worst one, okay? This is
All
so
right, the
offensive,
group-
you can't believe it.
The group Ambrosia. You know how much I feel. So, whoever this is posted an explicit song under their name, and the title of this. What's the title of the song? I want you to fuck me right in the ass. So, Ambrosia, really? They got a song like that? I'm thinking. So,
And now this,
when you
now,
click on it and play it, I mean, that doesn't sound like Ambrosia. But it's not just Ambrosia. I mean, there's the Outlaws, Jellyfish,
Tucker Band.
Marshall Tucker, the Strawbs,
And these are just the ones we found.
hundreds of artists.
And the Ambrosia one is the first one that I discovered. And back when I was working for Apple, I listened to a lot of music because I was doing customer service stuff. It was all text based. So I was, sending texts back and forth and answering Twitter messages and things like that. And so I could have music on, and I listened to a lot of music. And I would, check out this, my new music mix every week, and I saw it, and I went, God, I'm a huge Ambrosia fan. What a great band. I mean, really, really great band. Whether you're talking about the big, AOR ballad hits like How Much I Feel or You Are Every Woman, those were great. But they've got a massive prog rock side, too. I mean, Life Beyond L.A. and Holding On to Yesterday and Nice, Very Nice. Just great prog rock song. And it's like, so I pulled that up right away, and I heard that, and it was like, wow, something's really wrong.
It's like, this isn't Ambrosia. What happened?
Yeah, and the thing is, and that's what's odd about it, and we'll put some screenshots in here and everything so you can kind of see how it goes. But if you call up the Ambrosia artist page in Apple Music, their latest release is this. That's what it shows. Now, the actual name of that artist, appears to be Ambrosia Superstar. Um, but
Not trying to ride on that, are they?
right.
And Ambrosia's out on tour now again.
Exactly, that's the whole thing. It was like, and that's why I was like, that was the thing that brought me to listen to it in the first place. Is like I knew they were still touring. I think it's
Yeah.
3 of the original members. It's everybody except David Pack and a couple other people because they can't hit those high notes anymore. So they've got a chick in the band now. But it was just really odd, bizarre stuff, and I thought about it, kind of let it go, didn't think about it again until it started happening again. And the last 2 weeks ago, there were 4 in my new music mix. 4. All at once.
This reminds me of a conversation my dad and I had. So he and I worked in the same recording studio like 30 years apart. Okay. And we actually had the same boss, except for he was about ready to retire when I went to work there. But anyway, that's a whole other story. Same boss, 30 years apart too. And my dad had made a comment to me once that music was better back in the day when everything was done on analog tape because it was really expensive to get recording. And that's why you always get good music, because you had to be good enough to be able to justify recording it. And the problem with the digital age is now anybody can record any crap, and that's why there's so much garbage that's out there. And it sounds like this is like a direct result of that, of somebody who's just recording stuff and spoofing stuff in their homes, trying to get listens to make, I don't know if they're trying to make money or what they're trying to do or try to get their name out there, but it sounds like that's almost what.
Think about it. So, using the Ambrosia example again, they're a big band. I mean, they sold millions and millions of records. They've got a lot of fans, and you've got to figure that in the how many millions of Apple Music users there are, who get that, who are, who have liked Ambrosia music in the past, and who, the algorithm knows that they like that kind of music, are going to get that showing up in their mix. And am I going to listen to it again? Not on purpose. But there's...
Well, how long do you have to listen to before it counts?
I don't know. But I'll tell you, on that one, I was so blown away at how bad it was and how utterly offensive it is. And believe it or not, even with that title, that is not the worst song on the album. Okay? There are the things that are actually worse.
I wasn't offended, but I was just like, well, this is definitely not an Ambrosia song.
Yeah, right? So
Hey,
like
Bill, you have to stop. Riley's our guest, and you're not letting him jump in.
Oh, sorry, I suck.
This scratch and then put it under Ambrosia's page.
It shows up on their artist page.
It
actually, call up in the Apple Music platform. If you call up the Ambrosia page, it'll have latest release, and the latest release is this album. And it's been that way. I discovered this one probably 2 years ago, and it's been that way for 2 years. And I remember thinking, man, somebody's got to tell the band about this, but I had no way to get a hold of him. It looks like, Scott, you said it sounds like it's this whole weird thing to do it. And the thing that's...
The Marshall Tucker Band one is from 2022.
Right. And I
Those
think that
dudes
the
haven't put out
one is
music
from
in
2022
years.
too.
Well,
They're dead!
Exactly.
So, I mean, when I saw it, I thought that maybe there was a remix. Maybe it was, something live that somebody pulled out and a legacy artist, quote unquote, new material. But it's not. And the thing is, I checked on YouTube Music. I didn't check Prime Music because nobody uses Prime Music. And I checked on Spotify. And if you call it the artist pages for those, this stuff doesn't show up.
Scott, did you just raise your hand? Do you use Prime Music?
Yeah. Because we have Alexa in our house everywhere. And
yes, that's true. He does. Alexa controls everything in his house.
We have figured it out so we can play Apple Music on everything, but sometimes they don't have what we want to hear, and it's just easier.
That's funny. Scott's one of the 5 people who uses.
Why is my wife calling me?
In the middle of our show?
We're professional. Haven't you heard that?
That's right, man. Fully pro here. So anyway, and the thing that's odd to me about it, I just having now released some of my own music, I know that the process for actually getting it online, I use TuneCore, which sends it out to everybody. But with TuneCore, it was live on YouTube within hours. It was live on Spotify within 48 hours. It took a week for Apple Music for it to show up. A week. Because they say that they have some kind of manual approval process that everything has to go through. So they're the ones with this manual approval process, but this stuff is only showing up on Apple Music. Only Apple Music.
So I have a question here, and I'm going to Riley because he's our guest today. So my question is, Riley, number one, have you put out any original music of your own, and where can we hear it? And number two, if you've done it, has anybody spoofed it with like offensive stuff on iTunes?
Let's see here, Tim. First of all, let's begin with question number 2, shall we? I'm singing at the old broadcaster stuff. I'll stop that. No, nobody is bothered. I actually did 2 CDs about 4 years ago. One's called Christmas Guitar, the other's called Sabbath Guitar. And I just released them to my webpage. I had thought about doing it a little bit more national. The problem is that I'm my own worst engineer. And so every time I engineer stuff, I'll go back and listen to it later and realize
Don't even start.
do this. And I probably just sent the tracks to somebody that made for me and put me out of my misery. But for example, with my solo act, I have tracks that I do here using Logic Pro in my studio at the house. I have mixed these tracks probably 16 to 18 times. They got a catalog of over 200 songs. It's driving me nuts. I haven't done anything with either of them, and they both need, both the solo, the Christmas and the Sabbath guitar CDs need to be remixed, but I haven't done it because I've been too busy doing other things. Now, let me go back to something you guys said earlier. You know, this reminds me of something that's going on in the voice of it's a big deal, and that's AI. And AI, you can go on YouTube, as we all know, and you can watch a video that was put together by someone using an artificial speech thing, right? And anybody that really cares about their message isn't going to do that. I think the thing that's insidious about this to me is that an artist like Ambrosia, David Pack, and the guys, they worked hard for their career to have records, to have some person, I'm being kind here, go in and scratch the page is, frankly, at first it was a little incomprehensible. But here in 2022, I'm not surprised by nothing.
Well, you know what? That's actually a really good point. Hugely good point. Scott, do you have the Jellyfish one up? Don't start playing.
I'm going to make this my new hobby, by the way. Oh.
Yeah, right. Finding this stuff. So,
oh no, making this stuff, not finding it, making it.
Oh, there you go.
It's my new hobby.
Yeah, right. And all you have to do is find some artist who hasn't put out music in 20 years, and you can probably figure a way to pull it up. Well, the reason I think it's one person is when I started poking around, I realized if you call up the lyric view for this stuff, and for most of it, there's no lyrics. It's just bizarre instrumental synth stuff. So there's no lyrics, but it'll have the copyright information at the bottom, and it's in all caps. And it's the name of the artist, not a person.
So that's the Jellyfish one.
And it's like...
For what it's worth.
That goes on for like 5 minutes. Yeah, 3 minutes. It's like...
But for what it's worth, that sounds like early 70s Pink Floyd. That's what they did sound like before they figured out how to make good music. So,
But there were all these songs involved. I mean, I'm a huge Jellyfish fan. Jellyfish is a great band. I mean, and I don't know if I know Scott's a fan, but The King is Half Undressed. What a great song, man. I mean, I have directly ripped off stuff from Jellyfish numerous times. Great writing, great production, great band. That ain't Jellyfish.
That is not Jellyfish.
Marshall Crenshaw. No, it's not Marshall Crenshaw. It was the Marshall Tucker Band. Anybody remember the Marshall Tucker Band?
Hey,
oh yeah,
I met Tom
not Tim.
who actually played my guitar. Great guy.
Right?
Yeah.
Guys in that band have been dead for a while. Both the brothers died in the last. One of them died young, and the other one died in the last 10 years, probably. This is what they say is Marshall Tucker.
Flowers by Marshall Tucker Band.
Right.
Alternative 2022. It's acoustic guitar, maybe. That sounds like Can't You See Part 2 to me. I just
Fire
don't
on the
get
Mountain,
it.
right?
This is absolutely unbelievable.
And to have going on, at least as far back I could find, it maybe even further, 2017. Really? Come on, this is the maker of the iPhone and the iPod and, the US Festival, and we can't figure this shit out?
Clearly, quality control at Apple is at an all-time low. It sounds like it's like Facebook, or not Facebook, it's like Craigslist or some of these other companies that have a lot of posts, and then people just post spam. I mean, this is musical spam to me.
Yeah, me too.
You know what? That's a
You're
great way to put it. This is exactly
musical
what it is. It's
spam.
musical spam. It's musical spam. There was a band that most people aren't going to remember. Well, actually, Riley might. Do you remember the Strawbs?
Yeah, absolutely.
That was Rick Wakeman's band prior to Yes?
Yeah, absolutely. It's an excellent English rock and roll band.
Yes, English rock and roll band with some prog leanings.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is... Scott, you have Strawbs there?
Absolutely. Well,
this ain't...
No, but yes.
Riley's going to die with this one. Here we go.
All right, so this is the Strawbs. And it clearly says hip hop right behind the Strawbs.
This is like
hip-hop did not exist when the Strawbs were...
Strawbs special single hip hop rap.
You know who you are. We used to be friends. Not anymore till I found out what you did to one of my female friends. How could you do such shit?
How many is that we played? Like 4 or 5?
I think that's... Okay, so we had Ambrosia, Jellyfish, Marshall Tucker, Strawbs. Well, we had one more. The Outlaws. The Outlaws. What a great rock and roll band. 3 guitar players.
I actually worked with Harvey Arnold in a band after he left the Outlaws many years ago. Talk about them offline sometime. Great band. In fact,
Greengrass and High Tides. I mean, come on.
I must have seen that band 100 times. I loved that band when I was a kid.
When that first album came out, I was all over it.
Now, okay, the album cover, maybe, but it clearly says alternative. Now, and 2022. Now, okay, so I think
a version of
Harvey
the Outlaws
is
still touring.
alive. Well, I think Harvey is still alive, and I think
Harvey is very much alive. In fact, he's living in North Carolina doing a blues act, playing guitar instead of bass. But yeah, there's still a lot of those.
And there's a couple of other guys. I think Huey Thompson was the only one that died.
Yes.
But I know there's still a version touring.
Yeah.
Big
So,
guitar rock band. Here we go.
So this is Greengrass and High Tides 2. Really? Really?
Okay.
I'm sorry to just guff all like this, but this is absolutely ridiculous and insulting.
It's insulting. That's the best way to put it.
What I can't figure out is how long you have to listen to before it will count as like something. And are they getting paid, or is it just like counting on stream? Or I don't understand, but it just, or is it a huge like glitch and Apple just can't figure it out? That's why they want to axe iTunes, because in Apple Music they can't.
I blame it on the ghost of Steve Jobs.
And again, you know, I should, you know, full transparency, full disclosure here. I have a hate boner for Apple because, you know, they've screwed me.
Well, did you notice that any of this had to do with your departure? In fact, are they trying inadvertently to blame you for this?
Probably. Wouldn't
for
surprise
years.
me one bit.
Well,
You know.
for what it's worth, I blame all my Apple problems on Bill.
Yeah. Yeah, which is why I never used to tell anybody that I worked for him. Hardly anybody knew, because it was like, you know, I there's a guy I know, great dude. He had a small sound company there in Utah. Actually, he just moved to Arizona, but for a long time, and I got him a deal on a Mac Mini. I remember I was walking into Infocom here in Vegas. Now, Infocom is in June, like late June. I think it's like, it just happened here. And in Vegas. So it's already starting to get really hot. And I drove in, I was parked in the parking lot across the street from the convention center, which means I'm a half a mile from the actual exhibits. I'm walking in and sweating my butt off, and my phone rings. And it's him, and he has a problem with the Mac. And I'm like, dude, I'm walking into Infocom, call Apple support. He said, well, you're Apple support. I said, not right now, I'm not.
Gosh. I have to laugh at that because I'm guilty here, because every time we had any kind of Apple problem at my house, my wife would be like, call Apple Care. I'm like, no, I'll just text Bill. For years, that was me. So, and it still is me. So
yeah, right. I'm still getting this stuff, and I haven't worked for him in 7 months, something like that. You know, now I have my stupid job, my ridiculous. Why is somebody who's 62 years old doing this job? Riley doesn't know. Riley, I'm working as a lifeguard.
Hey, but you're working on your suntan, Bill.
He only wears an American flag Speedo. It's amazing.
Hey.
Well, yeah, but you know, under my board shorts. So
That's fantastic.
No, I'm the board short guy.
You know, here's the thing, though, talking about us being, well, we're not 21 any longer. If anybody told us when we were, 18 or 21 that we'd still be able to do what we're doing at this age, we probably would have laughed. I tell my new guitar students when they come on board, had anybody told me when I was 10 years old that I would have supported a family by teaching guitar and playing gigs and writing about it, I would have guffawed. I wouldn't have laughed. I would have guffawed. So anytime you get to play, it's great. I think the thing that bugs me about these ridiculous tunes, and I've got to use that in quotation marks.
Yeah, right.
Somebody obviously wants, their 5 seconds of fame, and all that really ruined it. Not only for the artist, but they've embarrassed themselves because anybody listens to this is going to go, "Geez, this is worse than awful."
Yeah,
well,
it's
'cause it
like calling
says-
it awful is an insult to awful.
Well, most of these bands, like the one for the Outlaws, the song says it's an alternative song. Well, if you're going to listen to the Outlaws, you're not really going for all. You're not really a Cure fan going to listen to the Outlaws.
No, I can promise you this because I know these guys, Billy Jones and Huey Thomas, Harvey Arnold, who's a friend of mine. None of those are alternative bone in their body.
No. No. It's country rock. It's country rock.
Yeah, no
man.
doubt. No
So
doubt.
anyway,
I was
hilarious
mortified. The Outlaws. That's not the Outlaws that killed me.
Wow.
so anyway,
And it doesn't seem like anybody is doing anything other than sending emails to Apple Music.
Well, and so does this mean that Apple Music is such a small part of the market that the artists don't care? I mean, if this were happening on Spotify, I think there'd be something about it. But I actually, I sent an email about this to Bob Lefsetz, who does the Lefsetz Letter. He's a music industry blogger that everybody follows, and I haven't heard anything. I said, I don't think I had the wherewithal to, really get the word about this out, but I think you do. And it's like nobody cares.
Yeah.
Do you by any chance know subscriber numbers of Apple Music versus like a Spotify?
I do not. I mean, I know that Apple Music has come up by quite a bit, and they were. If they had a free tier, they would probably be giving Spotify a bit of a run for their money. But because it's all subscription based, I think that my understanding is that Spotify has something like 10 times or more, even paid subscribers, not even counting the free tier. So it's just not even close.
Interesting. Well,
There you go. That's all I've got.
This was Bill's conspiracy theory. I don't think it was really conspiracy theory. I think we've proven out that it's real. Aliens are behind it, by the way. But
So I mean, if you've seen any of this stuff and you just thought it was like a one-off thing, send us a link. We'll we're gonna keep track of it. I don't think we'll be adding any of these songs to our growing playlist of the music that inspired.
Maybe we could make a playlist of bogus songs that they're not who they say they are.
Well, there you go. We can do that. I can do that. We've actually got it partially done. Scott's got all of these in his scratch pad, yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's just an odd thing, and I think Riley hit it. It's like it's musical spam.
No doubt.
No other way to put it.
Musical spam. You're just spamming everybody with your garbage.
And
Maybe somebody likes it. I don't know.
Really?
Maybe, but maybe it's just like we're like, get off my grass. I mean.
It hurts to laugh. I just want you guys to know
trying
that
not
it hurts to laugh
because he's like in too much pain.
It hurts.
You kids of that music, you alternative music, get off my grass.
I mean, this stuff is worse than Nickelback.
I never was a fan, but I'm truly not a fan of this either. And not that I don't listen to some rap music, but I don't know, the Ambrosia one, the title doesn't even really offend me, but the music is just, wow. Somebody actually took the time to make that and think it was good enough to post.
On another part,
and we're talking about it, so there you go.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Interesting topic you found there, Bill.
There you go. There you go. So, that's all I got. Anybody got
Musical
anything
span.
else?
I don't know. Riley, anything else you want to tell us? Because you were the guest who got to be here for all this nonsense. Where people can find your music or your website or
Yeah.
what stuff.
We could do that. First of all, my music webpage is guitarmadesimpler.com. And I've got a Facebook page, Guitar Made Simpler. My voiceovers page is wrileywilson.com. And I also do voiceovers. And this, one of the things that I think is kind of cool about this is that all of us have got a perspective because we've been in the trenches for a long, long time. And I don't know how many people that get into music in their teens or 20s think about, I'm going to make this a career. You know, we live in the days of Star Search and American Idol and America's Got Talent and The Voice and all that. And one of the issues with that is that these aren't people that are used to getting out and working for things over a period of years. You know, Bill, your record, I told you I was really impressed with it, and that's not a shameless plug for you. But it's a really good record. And that took you a long time to be able to get to a point where you're able to do that. And I think that people need to understand that if they're going to be in the music business, they should love it enough that they're going to do it for the long haul, whether they get paid a fortune for it or not.
Well, and I think a great thought on that. You know, one of the things that I really like, Riley, is you talked about. I think everybody when they start playing as a teenager or whatever has this like vision of being some huge rock star, right? But you don't necessarily have to be that. You can make a career, like as you said, teaching lessons and gigging and writing and things about it. And I think that's kind of the cool thing is like, you know, I look at it. I'm not a rock star. I mean, I worked in a studio. I played in a lot of bands. I did that stuff. But you know, when I kind of realized that I probably wasn't going to be a rock star. That was when I decided to go down a different career path, but ultimately that led me back to writing, which is how I got connected with Bill through Quint Randall, who we talked about earlier today, because I wrote a thesis for grad school on music and music marketing, and that's how I got connected to Bill. And it's like one of those things where that took me full circle, which is, you know, when you love music, like there's a lot of things you can do, writing, reviewing, things like that you can make a living on, or at least, you know, for me it's been on the side, but anyway, pretty interesting.
It's very cool.
Really cool stuff. And before I forget, Riley, with remixing your stuff, I had somebody tell me something a little while ago that has stuck with me. We never actually finish a song.
Boy, is that true.
You just get to the point where you're not offended by it anymore, and you put it out.
True. That's true. It's absolutely true. Wow.
As I sat here, I've been for the last week, and I'm getting ready, hopefully soon here to put out a bunch more stuff. And the guy who's been supposedly producing this stuff for the last more than 2 years, I'm trying to make it easier for him. So I took his mix template in Logic, the way he did that single, and I have taken everything and put it into that template, and it's a huge job. I mean, because this is a guy who, you know, the kick drum doesn't just go to a drum bus, it goes to a kick bus and to a dry bus and to a reverb bus, and that all feeds a drum bus. And you know, it's like the way it's supposed to be done if you're in a real studio, but I wasn't doing things that way, and it's a huge amount of work to do it right. And I guess that's part of why I'm so offended by some of this stuff, because it really is just, wow, really?
They made some beats or bought some beats and maybe got some MIDI chord pack from some of those YouTube guys selling instant musicians in a box. And
sorry, I hit the wrong button to stop recording for a second. Yeah, but anyway.
What I was going to say, Tommy,
go ahead.
Well, I had the privilege of studying with the second half of the year when I was at GIT. Tommy said in his book, you know, for guitar players only. He said,
You'll have a copy.
makes a living in the music business, works hard for their thing, and he said nobody wants to be made fun of for what they do. And I think the thing that bothers me about all of this is that these are all artists that most of us have heard of, and a lot of the listeners and viewers for this podcast have seen as well. And it just seems like they're doing something to hurt an artist, and that's just, not only is it mean-spirited, it's classless and it's unnecessary.
That sounds like a good stopping point, right?
Words of wisdom from Riley. At least one of us has some common sense.
This guy does, I never have words of wisdom ever. Last thing, I actually ordered this by accident, and I'm working on a piece, and maybe we can talk about this next time. There was a guitar lesson that I had that unlocked the instrument for me in the mid-'80s. I took a few lessons from a guy named Ted Green. Riley's going to know who Ted Green was. And Tim, you know who Ted Green was?
I've owned the book you're holding for over a decade now because you told me to go buy it.
They still publish this. This is a brand new copy of Chord Chemistry. And it was one lesson with Ted where he gave me a piece of paper with 25 ways to play a C major triad. And that really, like literally unlocked the instrument for me. I'm working on a piece there. Maybe we can, next time we'll talk about the one thing that made us go, oh, so that's how this stuff all works together, right?
Hey, if you delve into Ted Green deeply, there's a good buddy of mine that I went to school with at GIT named Tim Lurch. He's all over YouTube. He studied with Ted for years, and he could probably give you a lot of input about that. And
hook us up, because I like to. I mean, when I say I took some lessons from Ted, I took 3 lessons from Ted 6 months apart, because you would walk in there and in an hour it's like drinking out of a fire hose for an hour, and it took you 6 months just to assimilate everything, just to absorb everything that he'd given you in one lesson. And I think he was charging me $40 for an hour. It was ridiculous.
Yeah. You know, Larry, the same thing. He went to Joe Pass when he was 16 years old, and he said, I thought I was a guitar player. And he said, we had to go back to the very basics. It took him 2 years to go back to Joe when he was 18, and he said, even then, he said, all we could do was delve into some very, very basic harmonic things.
Well, there you go. Gentlemen, this has been fun.
All right. Well, we got a topic for next time, so it's been fun.
And I'll hit Quint up and see if he wants to be a guest. And we've got some other ideas coming up. And Riley, come back and join us anytime, man.
Hey, it was a pleasure, guys. Absolutely.
And that's it for 2 old guys and a middle-aged guy talk about guitars and gear and stuff. This has definitely been a stuff one, and we were actually supposed to talk about NAMM. I think we're gonna have to do that next time. Although all this stuff that's coming out, I have literally not seen a single thing that I haven't seen that before, and that looks really cool.
The Reader's Digest of NAMM. Most people didn't have any new stuff. They just came. But half the people didn't come to NAMM either.
So
well, there you go. I think we covered it. Okay. Well, I'm pushing stop on the recording for real this time, so.
Okay, we're going to...
Don't sign off.